I'm Lee, and this week, if you ever get on Facebook and you see those blacksmithing videos from India, a lot of times they use like a hot shear, I want to say, where it's mounted to the anvil and they're able to strike down on it and cut steel while it's still relatively hot. Well, I want to try to make some of those out of some leaf springs. So I have my leaf spring right here. I'm going to start with, I'll cut it right here against the hole, and then I'm going to put a tail on here so I can pick this back up. So this will be the top jaw. Now the bottom jaw, I'll cut right here. I'll leave this for something extra one day. And I'm just going to go the same length as front jaw, which is 5 1/4. And then I may adjust these a little bit because I really want a taper out here. Maybe like this with a flat spot, because I'm going to need to strike somewhere and this thing's going to be up in the air. So I may do a little bit of tweaking with this dimension, but I'm going to cut these out with a cutoff wheel off camera and then get these straightened out in the forge. Okay, so I've changed my design just a little bit. I ended up with just a little over 4 inches of jaw, and I put this tab on the bottom die. Now this is just for this 1/2 inch by 1. I'm going to fold it over to fit into the hardy hole. I left it long out here on the face just so it gives it more surface area against the anvil. So this will be the cutting jaw, this will be the cutting jaw. And so this will end up getting a hole right here with the drill press. It will get a bolt in it so it's adjustable for tension. And then this tail right here, the only reason I'm leaving this on, in my mind, is so I can tap this with a hammer to open the jaws. So that way whenever everything's real hot, I don't really have to touch anything. I want to bend this tail just so it clears the anvil a little bit better. Okay, now the last step is this right here, which is going to fit into the hardy hole, so get a couple inches. Okay, so I'm ready to get a hole punched in these, and I think I'm going to go around a 1/2 inch down and a 1/2 inch over. Give me where I want to be. Got the other one marked already. Just double check it. Okay, the next step is I need to get this welded on because this is going to be my lug. It's going to fit down in the hardy hole, so I'm just going to weld this with a stick welder outside since I don't really want all the smoke in here. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then I can start setting up a grind for over here for the shear itself. Okay, so the bottom is welded on. Now I'm not a very good welder, but it works. So I'm going to bolt this thing together, just temporary for now, so I can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like and how are the jaws going to fit. So that's probably my furthest point that it's going to open up to. So I need to basically grind behind that on either side. So I'm just going to measure off of this. I'll do the same grind on the bottom, and I want to run a really steep taper because I want this as strong as possible. So it's going to be probably a 45, if not a little bit steeper than that. Got both of these ground, and I ended up using a sanding disc on the grinder, or just a hand grinder, to get that bevel. Now it's nice and steep. I wanted it more like a 45, so these are ready to bolt together, and they're going to be opposite of each other, so those two cutting edges will meet up. Works perfect other than dropping it on a stump. Now that may be a problem, that the back is too heavy for my shear. But it still works. Might need to tighten down the bolt a little bit more now that it's moving. But that is high carbon lawnmower blade, if you can't tell by the little star in it. So, as you can see, the cut is beautiful in this. It's really nice and straight up and down. It worked really fast. You don't have to mess with chisels. You can cut out, I'm sure, around corners a little bit. And I think that this is going to be a great asset to my forge. And then the jaws held up beautifully. Now these aren't hardened or anything because I figured it's going to be in hot steel. There's no point. It really didn't take me that long for this project overall. It's got a nice steep bevel. Both of them are nice and sharp. I put this in here so the hammer would strike a little bit more square since it's up at an angle. Now the back's a little heavy. I could have lightened that up, but I really wanted that tail so I could get this thing picked up. Whenever it starts to lay down, I need to get another bite. Now my weld's a little bit ugly. That's no big deal. But the 1/2 by 1 inch stock fits perfect into the anvil. And then the bolt makes it adjustable so I can change the tension. I didn't have a lock nut, so I used two nuts to jam it. But it works perfect. And I'm surprised that more modern forges don't have a shear like this around. Maybe they do and they don't use them. But I think it's a nice project. It's good to have around. I hope you enjoyed this week's project. I'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching.